I want to move on your posters that were in town. One thing that was clear: I believe in Ghana. Let's take it from there. You become president. What are you going to do different? How do you put Ghana at the center of Ghana? When you say you believe in Ghana, what should we expect from you? What are you going to do?
The questions are a bit mixed up, but because you're asking me what I'll do different.
Yeah.
I think that, for instance, the problems and the Ghana that a post-Kufuor president will inherit are different from the problems that a post-Rawlings president inherited in 2001. They're different sets of problems. We can see straight away. We're no longer running an inflation that is taking a rates that don't make sense economically. Our currency has been stabilized. Interest rates have come down from 50% and now in the 18, 17 bracket. So those particular problems, which were the really major strategic concerns of the first Kufuor administration, will not be the problems that hopefully I will inherit. I will inherit different problems. So that is why I'm saying that the issue is not really so much as how I will act differently as to how one will deal with the problems that are there. Now, if we assume that the base, generally, I mean, Kufuor's administration is an administration of human beings. So there have been mistakes have been made. Clearly, there will be. And even if I'm not prepared to say, or not in a position yet to be, there will be. But the general thrust of what has been done, in my view, is to lay a good foundation for our nation for the future. And what is that future? To make a significant shift in the way in which we run the economy of our nation. That is a major strategic objective.
Yeah, significant shift.
A significant shift away from the primary producing, export-driven Ghanaian economy which we have today, which still has cocoa and timber and gold in their raw state as the principal items of our foreign receipts. We have to move away from that, because that way is not prosperity for our nation.
Yeah.
Prosperity, we have seen from around the world, comes from adding value to the things that you have and dealing in products that require some skill and technology.
Now, we've been talking about this, you know? We've been talking about this all the time. Let's add value to our products. Let's shift. We don't.
Well,
how are we going to do it?
I think that, for instance, for a long time, because of the disarray in our system of governance, the whole of that long period of military rule made it difficult for us to focus on the fundamental matters of confronting our society and people, because the system of governance itself was all lopsided. You couldn't talk. People are not in a position freely to come forward with their ideas. You didn't have a systematic and representative way of choosing your leadership. Somebody can emerge with a gun out of the night, impose himself on the nation, and we're all supposed to go along. So all those distorted our ability to be able to deal with the issues that are there. Yeah. And that's why, even though the general talk was a recognition of these matters, there was no attempt to really make a fist at trying to solve those problems. I think now that our system of governance has now been more or less established. All of us are agreed that the democratic way is the way forward for our nation. We want to go about choosing our leaders through the ballot box. We want to encourage everybody to make an input into the discussion of the issues in our society. Now that we have got that firmly established, and now also that we have a macro economy that makes much more sense than anything we've had for a very long time, I think we have now the foundation where a leadership that is determined and decisive can make the leaps forward towards the goal that hopefully all of us buy into.
So what is Nana Addo's vision in terms of practically, strategically? Where do you start off? What do you do? How do we implement this belief that you're talking about? Where would you start?
First of all, I think that you have the instrument for transformation. You have to identify it. And I see that instrument essentially as the Ghanaian business class, as the private sector in Ghana, is the group that has to be strengthened and equipped to be able to take on this task of economic transformation. So that those things that you need to do to be able to assist the Ghanaian business class to be strong, capable of standing its own feet, capable of being able to compete in this globalized economy, that has to be a major preoccupation of a government that is interested in this process of structural transformation.
If I ask now, for example, what are maybe 2-3 concrete things you would do to strengthen the business class to compete globally?
I think that first of all, hopefully, by the time we come in, we would have had a really clear audit of what the position is on the ground in terms of enterprise development and creation in our country. We're going to be looking at every sector, looking at those Ghanaians who are in those sectors and how well or not that they're doing, and do this targeted assistance, training, capital mobilization, those things that will enable these enterprises to grow and grow quickly and stronger. That has to be because that's the key. If you've got a class of business people in our country that have the confidence to be able to go to the banks, be able to persuade the banks to give them money, either to expand or create new enterprises, you're doing so many things at the same time. You're being able to address the question of employment in our country. We're not going to get people in employment unless there are jobs for them to be done. And jobs means enterprise, newer, more and more enterprises coming into place. If people can see that businesses in our country are succeeding in being able to meet their wage bills, money to reinvest, able to go forward and direct their activities strategically, it helps bring up the rest. I think that that's going to be the focus that we want to do. We want to make sure that within the decade, that the second decade of the 21st century, we would have here a business class that more or less is capable, that can stand on its own feet and not be spoon-fed like what we have been seeing in the past, or being neglected, which for a long period, this focus on foreign investment, yes, we need as much foreign investment into Ghana as possible because of especially the technological implications of that, the technology transfer that should come in with foreign investment. But equally, we need to encourage Ghanaians to believe that they can set up businesses, grow those businesses, and by that way, help expand our economy. The cake is this size. This is this size, it can only be cut up so much. But if it grows that size, the cutting up of it also, of course, means more and more people can be part of it. And I think that that is the way forward for our country. The second matter is, of course, the question of our governance. Those measures that we need to do systematically to deepen the process of democratic empowerment in our country. We're going to have to look very carefully at what local government what we need to do. Because if we're talking about giving power to ordinary people, to the people, you're going to have to look at the systems of governance that affect them. This whole question of whether we're going to have elected district chief executives. I think we can no longer, I speak for myself personally, of course, at some stage or other, my party will have to pronounce on it. But I think that these are matters that we're now going to have to really look at squarely in the face and take those decisions that make the whole process of decentralization in our country truly meaningful. A lot has been done. I'm not saying nothing has been done. A lot has been done so far. But it may be that we now need to take one or two more qualitative steps that will make that process really meaningful. But I see these as the issues. The third is Ghana and its place in West Africa and its place on the African continent. You look at what is going on around the world. All the other peoples in the world are coming together in one form or another. The Europeans, of course, is the most famous. They have a union now, which has, 27 members, with a huge market. And it's clear from the anxiety of everybody in Europe to belong to this union that they can see that it has been of great benefit to them. It has problems, but overall people are benefiting from it. We see the same phenomenon in Asia, ASEAN, and the groupings that are taking place there of people coming together, creating these large markets which allow their businesses to be more efficient. The prosperity that is emerging in Asia. We're beginning to see this same phenomenon even in the Americas. Even the almighty United States of America finds it necessary to be part of NAFTA, to be part of these groupings that involve Mexico and Canada. They're now trying to see even how far they can extend it down to South America. And the South Americans were doing it. It is absolutely imperative for us in Africa to take very seriously the whole process of integration in our continent, both at the regional as well as the continental level. I believe that we in Ghana have a special role to play. The one major legacy that Nkrumah left us was this engagement in Pan-Africa. It gives us a good, strong moral basis for us to provide leadership in that exercise. And I think that that is something, too, that has to be very central to the politics of the next 10 years in Ghana. To what extent Ghana can assist in promoting the integration process within ECOWAS and the integration process on the larger continental basis. In it lies security for us, and I have no doubt about it, prosperity down the road. We come together in this way in Africa and then begin to work in an efficient and an intelligent manner, because we also have systems of government that make sense.
So this is an area you intend to
be very much central in anything that if I'm given the opportunity by the Ghanaian people, it will be a central part of my own vision. But I think that when we are all together and working together, obviously our strength is that much greater. And then this way of the world looking down on Africa and trying to marginalize us and think that we, the black people of the world, are always intended to be at the bottom of the ladder, drawers of wood and all of that, of water and hewers of wood. That Africa, we have to banish the image of that Africa as soon as possible. And let the world see that we are capable of making an intelligent contribution to the civilization of humanity. And that there's a great deal that the world can get out of Africa, not just as resources, but it's also its genius, its creativity, its dynamism, its warmth. We have all of that we also can bring to the table. And we can bring it to the table if we're seen to be able to stand on our own feet. Yeah. And I think we will find it easier to stand on our own feet if we are working together. The arrangements that have to be made, the political arrangements that have to be made to make that meaningful, will be the subject of a constant engagement and dialogue. At the end of the day, we can only go forward if we find consensus. We have to work assiduously at finding that consensus. And I think that it's a very important part of the Ghanaian contribution to Africa's development. Okay. Unfortunately for us, a Ghanaian leader who comes to speak the language of Pan-Africa is considered almost normal because of the work that Nkrumah did in this area.
So you're going to rekindle that Pan-African spirit?
Well, I mean, make a contribution to it. Make a contribution to it. I think it's important. Strategically, politically, economically, generally, I think it's important for the welfare of our people that we should be seen to be working towards the integration of our continent, both at the economic and political level.
Time has run out on us. Time has run out, but I can't let you go. I have to live on your family. Your wife is?
Rebecca. She's Griffiths Randolph. She was. The father was the Speaker of the Parliament in the Third Republic, a former judge. She's a woman from Osu, and her mother was a person from Akuse. So that's it. I have a Ghan wife.
You speak Ghan?
In the house, yes. It's, I think a lot of people will be surprised, but that is the language of the house. Because invariably, the language of the house is always the language of the woman, and the woman is a Ghan. So that's the language I speak on a daily basis at home. She used to be a secretary, a legal secretary. Lived a long time in England, especially during the PNDC era. Known each other for a very long time.
And your kids?
They're I have women.
Women.
I only have girl children. I have 5 daughters. Yes. Very, very, well, even if I say it myself, very pretty, very good-looking girls.
Yeah.
Intelligent, and out there also doing their own thing.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, time is up, Nana. In 30 seconds, your final words to the people of Ghana.
Well, first of all, I have to express my gratitude that this confidence has been placed in me to be the leader of the dominant political party in our country. I'm hoping that I'll be able to make a contribution to enhancing the quality of life of our people and making Ghana and our society a better one. I think that there's a great deal of hope for our future. The prospects for our country are good, and I would like to be able to help in making those prospects real for the majority of our people. That's really where I'm coming from.
Okay, and let the church say amen. Now, before I wrap up, Nana has challenged me to a popularity contest. So we are going to walk through Makola? Anywhere, name it. Next week, hand in hand, and please vote for me. Anyway, Nana, thank you very much for having me. Congratulations. All right. Stick around, folks. Nana Addo Dankwa in the house. We'll be right back.